Speaking alongside the US Treasury Secretary, you saw there was the US Vice President Mike Pence. He also had a direct message for the President of Turkey, calling on him to enact a ceasefire and start negotiations with the Kurds. Listen in.
President Erdogan reached out and requested the call. President Trump communicated to him very clearly that the United States of America wants Turkey to stop the invasion, to implement an immediate ceasefire, and to begin to negotiate with Kurdish forces in Syria to bring an end to the violence.
In terms of the reaction that we've seen to the measures so far, here in Turkey, the leadership is remaining silent. But in the United States, the chorus of criticism and concern continues. I just pointed out before that we have now heard from the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. Here's a bit more of what she had to say. The Speaker saying President Trump has unleashed an escalation of chaos and insecurity in Syria. His announcement of a package of sanctions against Turkey falls very short of reversing that humanitarian disaster. We have heard from Turkey's President Erdogan earlier, though, saying that he will not stop until his mission in Syria is complete. He is, of course, seeking to create what he calls a safe zone for Syrian refugees in northeastern Syria, and that mission is still underway, involving airstrikes and shelling over the past few days. Of course, Turkey's intervention into Syria has really drawn international condemnation, and now it could also potentially start to hurt at home, not so much because of these sanctions, but primarily because of the impact that this could have on the country's currency. You're pointing out the moves that we've seen in the lira before, down about 10% year to date, off by 5% this month alone. And when news of Turkey's intervention into northeastern Syria came, we actually saw the currency slumping to its lowest levels in about 4 months. So the question here really is, guys, how is Turkey going to respond to these latest measures from the United States? And what efforts will it make to support and stabilize its economy and its currency in the face of perhaps more measures coming from the US and this administration? Certainly a lot more questions than answers at this point. Back over to you.
A very delicate question, but is Erdogan losing support domestically? You see characters such as Babacan, Davutoglu, characters we've known and spoken to in the West for many years as well, being slightly critical of the AK, critical of the president as well. Is he losing his grip, given what we saw in Istanbul in June as well, on the popular support he's had for a very long time in the country?
Well, Steve, it's a great question. And I think when you look at the reaction in local press, for example, it would appear not. However, gauging an accurate sentiment of locals here is quite hard. I would contend that support for the president is still relatively high. In fact, there is very much a nationalist push here, and many support this move to move into Syria. Of course, ignoring a lot of the concerns that the international community has had, but gauging exactly how the populace feels about this is pretty hard given the situation here.